Alright, dividing decimals today is what we're going to work on. So first I want to cover, this is a great time to review the different ways we can do division signs. We're oftentimes used to seeing it like this, but you can also write them as a fraction, and actually this year we're going to be using that fraction a lot. That means just 3 divided by 5. It's the same thing as this. This is also the same thing. And we oftentimes, when we actually divide out, we write it out like this. So I wanted to review those, if you hadn't seen those before, that we can use this as a division. Now, when we're dividing decimals, it oftentimes happens either when there's a decimal involved or when the inside of the box, that number in there, is less than the number on the outside of the box. And so 5 can't go into 3 evenly. And so what we do is we need to add those decimal places in. And so we want to make sure they fly in right there. After they've flown in and you have them moved to the right place, the next thing you want to do is you want to raise up that decimal point. Alright, so you want to make sure that decimal point's right there. Do that before you do anything else. You don't want to lose track of it, so we want to do that right away. Then after that, we just want to add a 0 here on the end and divide away. Now, 5 cannot go into 3, so we're going to put a 0 in front of the decimal point. And now we just see how many times can 5 go into 30. Well, 5 can go into 30 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30, and we get 0, so we are done. And 0.6 or 6/10 is my answer. So that's how we're going to do that. All right. Now the other thing that we need to do when we have decimals is, well, first off, we should set it up right. So let's set it up like that. So that top number goes on the inside. Sometimes you hear inside out. Alright? The top number goes on the inside, the bottom number goes on the outside. When we do that, now when we divide decimals, what we need to do is we need to move those decimals. That outside decimal should go on the very end, somewhat like this. It should move over. So it goes from here over to here. So we had to move it one time. However many times we have to move that decimal to the inside, we have to move that inside decimal that many times. So we also have to move that decimal over. We need to move it over here. Alright? And once. And these numbers should line up 1, 1. After we do that, we've got the decimal in the right place. So we just want to raise that decimal up. And then from here, we just divide. So 2 can go into 10 5 times. That's 10. That gives me a 0. Drop the 2. 2 can go into 2 once. That gives me 2. That's 0. Drop the 4. 2 can only go into 4 twice. That's 4. 0. And I am done. Alright? So we get 51 and 2/10. 51 and 2/10 as my answer. So if we always keep track of the decimal, dividing with decimals is no harder than dividing with whole numbers. We just got to make sure we keep track of that decimal. Let's do a couple more examples. 4.32 or 4 and 32 hundredths divided by 3 and 6/10. So we go 4.32 divided by 3.6. We got to move that decimal over once. That means we have to move the inside decimal over once, and then we want to raise it up. 36 can go into 43 once, and we get 36 on bottom. We subtract, and we get 72, and we drop that 2. 36 can go into 72 twice. That gives me 72, 0. Because I got the 0 there, I'm done. So 1 and 2/10, or 1.2, is my answer. Alright, next. 12 and 95 hundredths divided by 1 and 25 hundredths. Alright, so we can take this out. 12.95 divided by 1.25. Now in this case, we need to move that decimal over twice, which means we need to move the inside decimal over twice, and then raise it straight up. 125 can go into 129 once. It cannot go into 1, it cannot go into 12. That means we get 125 down here. We drop the 4, drop the 5. 125 cannot go into 45. So we put a 0 there. Now here, we have to add a 0 on the end and then drop it down. So that might be something new that you're not used to as well. 125 can go into 450 probably 3 times. If we go 125 times 3, that's 15, 7, 375. We subtract that. That will give me 75. Again, we're going to have to add another 0, drop that down, add it on. And 125 can go into 750 6 times. So go 125 times 6, 30, 15, 7. Got it. So that's 750, 0. Because I got a 0 there, I am done. So 10 and 36 hundredths, or 10.36, is my answer. And we got one more example. 9 divided by 1 and 25 hundredths. If you don't see a decimal on it means it's on the very end. If you don't see a decimal on the number, it's on the very end. So we got to move this one over twice, which means we have to move this one over twice. Whenever you move a decimal and it leaves you with open spaces, fill those in with zeros. Now, 125 cannot go into 9, it cannot go into 90, but it can go into 900. We're going to say 7 times. We go 125 times 7, that's 35. 14, 17, 875. So we get that. We subtract that off and we get 25. Again, we're going to have to add a 0, drop it. 125 can go into 250 twice. Don't forget to raise up that decimal. I think I forgot to do that on the first step. Raise that up, and there you go. Multiply that out, and you get 250. We end with a 0, so we're done. 7 2/10 is my answer. Well, hopefully this makes sense. If not, I am happy to answer questions, and I will see you later.